All right, we're back. So we've talked a lot about the Mets, their season so far that has now ended. I almost caught myself there. And now I think we're going to jump to talking about the free agents that the Mets have, going through, a standard possible contract that these players may have, and deciding whether or not we would sign these players and at what cost. And then we could see what our payroll will end up being and where the Mets will be from there. Maybe talk a few free agents, talk a few trades, things we'd like to see.
Yeah, well,
All
what
right.
I want to do is I'm going to say a name. I'm going to say the name that we already have and the salary that we're already paying him, because you're going to be like the general manager right now, and you're going to try to think that they think. If they don't just look at the free agents, they got to understand what money they're already allocating to a certain position. So your first guy is obviously Matt Scherzer, $43 million. I'm just curious, would you sign him now for $43 million going into next year if you were going to make this team?
I don't know if I don't know if I would have, but it's too late. It is what it is. $43 million this year, right? For
$43 million. You're going to build your team right now. It's like fantasy baseball. Would you spend $43 million on Matt Scherzer?
The answer is probably not at his age, knowing what just happened. But let's go with it. He's going to be on the team next year. He signed, so 43
okay,
million.
Francisco Lindor, $32 million. I got to be honest with you guys, I'm kind of not even giving you the luxury tax salary. If this is all over, it actually is going to boost up. Francisco Lindor, $32 million. You signing him, Brian?
I would. I think he's been great this year. An 100 RBI player, Gold Glove caliber player. I think he's, the team ride or dies with him. Him and Alonso, we need to re-sign them for the next 10 years.
Okay, so let's say you're Billy Epler now, and you told you have the luxury tax is $300 million. How much money do you allocate to your infield? How much money do you allocate to your outfield? And how much money do you allocate to your pitching staff? Because that's the decision making.
Yeah, that's a tough question. And I think that depends on who's available. You go for not a number of one versus the other, but who's available, what will give you the best strength for a team,
If you wanted to break it into thirds, just for argument's sake, you already spent 40% on Scherzer and 32% on Lindor.
What are you paying Alonso?
You're going to cry when you hear this, because this is how you build championships, my friend. You're paying Pete Alonso $7,400,000. $7 million you signed Alonso for $7,400,000.
Yeah.
What I think the Mets should do is this offseason give them a nice extension. Give them the Braves approach, because that's how the Braves have sustained, because they've signed people early and gotten discounts for it.
And why would you want to do that? Why would you want to follow a team that knows how to win? Why would you want to do that? What's the point of doing that? Then you can't cry. Then you can't cry. The Braves, when they do a podcast, they don't have nothing to cry about. Well, we won again. We won again. Oh, we only won by 5 runs. God, shucks. This is disgusting. We won again. You know what? I don't even need to watch the rest of the game. I know they're going to win.
Yeah, I think they were on a 119 win pace by after July. It was ridiculous. It just goes to show. Yeah, it goes to show. We talk about the Mets blowing it. They were a 101 win team, second best record I believe the Mets have ever had. We didn't blow it. The Braves won it.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, there were a few series we got swept by the Cubs, which was a huge series. We had to win at least one of those, and then everything would have been okay. But we went the entire year without losing to bad teams for an entire year. You're going to have one series a year where you're going to be bad. It just happened to be at the worst possible time, which is what happens to the Mets. It's just what the New York Mets are.
And the question is, did the Mets, clearly the Mets lost that series to the Padres, but is it because the Mets were so terrible, or was it the Padres came up big? They hit the home runs and took the Mets out of the first game. They lost the second game. And the third game, their pitcher pitched the same way Al Leiter pitched, the same way, what was his name? Jones.
Bobby Jones.
Bobby Jones pitched. He had a great game. And you know what? That's what championships are made of. The Mets just didn't do well enough to win this. It wasn't
that's what happens in the playoffs. And I think that's one of those things where it was similar, I believe, to the 2015 Mets, when you have Daniel Murphy, who's been, a slouch the whole year, goes off. This series, Trent Grisham, their eighth hitter who no one was worried about. He
Yeah.
hit a home run every game and big hits every game. They had to pitch around their eighth batter.
Listen,
Um,
let's face it. Daniel Murphy won the 2015 playoffs for the Mets.
That's the only
Single-handedly,
reason they won.
all by himself. This is
All
a
by himself.
guy who was oft injured, could never play a full season. Mets fans didn't love Daniel Murphy. They were like, he was okay until that playoff. Then they were in love with him. Well, the Mets traded him because they figured he was going to be the same old Daniel Murphy. And Washington or whatever and played well.
I have one word to say about that. Typical. Anyway,
Typical.
the Mets had two pitchers over there. Typical Mets. They finally get someone that wins the whole, wins the trophy for most valuable player. And what do? They give him away. They don't re-sign him. Same thing with Ray Knight, all the way back to 1986. The guy he's fantastic in the World Series. What his reward was? We don't need to pay you. The Mets put 40-year-old men on the mound. They could have put a 50-year-old man on the mound for $600,000 or minimum salary. Big Sexy was available. That guy never gets injured. He throws 1,000 pitches a game. It doesn't matter. He would have done a better job than Bassett. I'm telling you, you would have put him out there right now. He would have given you 5 innings, 1 run, no question about it. And guess what? He would even they would have used him as a DH. He would have hit a home run.
All right. What does Bassett cost us?
All right, wait a minute. We're not up to that. We're up to Jacob deGrom, $33 million for 20 games. And I'm telling you, that man is not pitching more than 20 games next year.
DeGrom's one to talk about, but because he's a free agent. But let's leave it to free agents, not the guys who are under contract for.
Starling Marte, $14,500,000 worth it.
Marte's under contract already. It's irrelevant.
Right, I'm saying, would you put him on your team?
Yeah,
again?
you have to. But you have to. So it doesn't really matter. What's his salary?
14.5. I'm just saying, what a steal. The guy's worth every penny.
Marte was a steal.
Marte
you know what?
Marte had a great
I think was a little overpaid here. I think Mark Cannon was a little overpaid, but you know what? $12 million and put him on the bench to be your DH with Aaron Judge out there. I'll take it. If you use him as a DH. There's your DH solved there, Brian.
What's Cannon's number?
12 million.
Remind me at the end. We've been talking a lot about Aaron Judge. I think there's someone out there who's better. For the Mets, better fit.
You want to give Carlos Carrasco $12 million next year because the Mets have an option. I believe they could dump him. They don't have to keep him.
It's a player option.
No, I'm going to kick him off anyway. I don't want. He's the only guy with 50. He was the best pitcher. If you just look at statistics, the guy. I wouldn't put him in a pressure game for anything.
What's his number?
Did not. I would never trust Carlos Carrasco in any playoff game.
It doesn't matter what you want. You're stuck with him if he says he wants to come back.
I'm not stuck with anyone. I took Cano with his $20 million. I got rid of him. I don't want him on my team.
You can't have a bigger salary than the Kansas City Royals that isn't really playing. So
if you're saying we can't get rid of him, you're stuck with him. Edwin Diaz, $10,200,000. You got to resign him.
Carrasco, what's his number?
12 million.
Ivan doesn't actually understand this task here, but go ahead. Next.
Edwin Diaz, 10,200,000.
But Diaz isn't signed, so that's somebody you got to think about. What's his number? 10,200,000.
Correct.
Yeah, he's gonna want more and probably deserve more.
Yeah, I think he's gonna look for $20 million.
But I'm not putting him in the column. I can't put him in the column of who you take it.
Right, Eduardo is making the third baseman. You mean really $10 million is easy.
Eduardo was a steal too. I mean, granted he was cold for parts of the year, but great glove.
Yeah, I kind of think
he's hot at the end.
I kind of think he's not bad.
He signed.
He signed for 4 years, 3 more. It was a 4-year deal, I believe.
So what's his number?
His salary was $10 million.
And that's what we have to pay him next year.
I don't know if I'm only could tell you what the salary was this year. I can't tell you.
We'll go on that. So
yeah, that's what I'm going on.
I need another outfielder. That was Nimmo, but he's not on the team. What was Nimmo getting paid?
Nimmo was getting paid $7 million.
Yeah, you're not going to get him for $7 million.
No, you're probably looking at around. I got figure $15 million a year.
All right. Who else?
Chris Bass is making 8,650, $8,650,000.
I guess your catcher next year is going to be Alvarez. You think that they're going to go with him next year, Brian?
I think that they will. It's a matter of where his defense is. He's going to play DH at least, but it all depends.
That's a
on if he's gonna
mistake. They
play
better
him or
not.
not.
They better not play him as DH.
I
He's
think he should start and we should have Nito there in the backup, but
yeah,
we
yeah.
need to do
But you're
something
not.
with
You're not going to have
McCann.
Nito. Nito's going to be
What's Nito's
traded.
number? What's Nito's number?
Nito. Well, I wanted to give you James McCann. The reason why
All right.
Nito's going to be traded and not McCann is McCann's making $8 million. You
No one's
can't.
gonna trade for McCann.
No one's going to trade for him. Nito actually has some trade. He can get you. He can possibly get you a middle reliever. Not you would say, well, how could a guy batting 200 get you a middle reliever? Because catcher is a very interesting position. He brings a great defense. I actually think he's better than McCann defensively as a power arm, and I think
Better
he can.
offensively too.
Yeah, I think he can definitely give you a middle reliever, especially if you find a team that's lost their catcher and they don't have anyone. He can fit in. So I think Alvarez is going to be your catcher. McCann's making $8 million. Trevor May signed for next year.
No,
7,700,000. He's not, right?
Not. No. What about McNeil? What do we pay McNeil?
Well, this is where you're going to have a big
Miguel's a free
payroll.
agent.
Miguel, he's not a free agent.
He's not.
He's making so much money. I mean, a batting champion had to get paid a lot. So the Mets gave him $3 million.
Oh, he has one more year of arbitration, I believe.
Yeah. That's how you build a championship, guys. You got to have young guys who make nothing.
I understand. I'm just trying to put in who's already contracted. Then we're going to fill it in. Ivan.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think Tyler Naquin's on the team next year. Jolie Rodriguez probably. I think he signed
so what
I'd
was he
say
earning?
$2 million.
Okay.
Michael Givens he could be on the team next year, but he's not going to. If the Mets give him, he's making 3.5. If the Mets give him 3.5, they deserve to put their head in the toilet bowl because he's not worth anything. And the only one I would give up is I got to sign this guy. He only cost $3 million. Darren Ruff, well worth it for the dog patrol. This guy they should just have him running around in a dog outfit, running around in the outfield because for $3 million, the best thing he could do is give us entertainment.
Is he signed past this?
Darren Ruff? No,
Hold
he's
on,
walked his
hold
way
on.
into retirement.
Okay.
I have a simple solution. We don't have to talk about what each person has anymore. The active payroll for 2023 without free agents is 219 million.
There you go. Now I was
So
trying to see if we could build a
219
team.
with the ones that we have signed right now?
Correct. Active payroll. And then also your retained salary from Cano and your 1.2 million from Bobby Bonilla.
Wait a minute. Is there a possible way, Brian, that we can sit down with Cano and give him, I don't know, a 75-year-old long-term investment strategy, kicks in with no
speaking
social
of-
security or something?
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, people make fun of the Mets for the Bobby Bonilla deal, but actually wound up being pretty smart. Thinking that we only pay him 1 million a year, considering how much it would have hurt the team at that time, to pay him as much as he did. I mean, every team does this. It's just that the Mets get the comedy end of the stick because it's the Mets. Every team has a Bobby Bonilla.
They're stupid because they're gonna make $50 billion on this 1 million. All you got to do is have Bobby Bonilla Day. 50,000 fans are gonna come out.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay more than $1 million. This is a big mistake. Of course, the Mets don't think about that. But I did hear that Stephen Cohen wanted it, and Bobby Bonilla couldn't make it this year. But I'm telling you, Bobby Bonilla Day is gonna be a big day in New York. 50,000 people are gonna come down. Times that by 50, $20 a ticket. There you go. Whatever it is. He's going to be fantastic for the Mets. They should do that, and they should do that with Cano. They should bring Cano back that day, have a big contract, and say, "But listen, we're going to give you not 20 million. We're going to give you 50 million over the next 500 years. Your grandchildren and your great grandchildren are going to make the money." That's what they should do. Because what a disgrace! I went to see the Mets against Arizona, and he's over there throwing sunflower seeds at Kirby over there. And Kirby, if anyone, doesn't need a sunflower seed because he's heavy enough. But I mean, it was such a disgrace. I was calling it that day. They got to get rid of him. He's such a jokester. You think, oh, what a disaster that guy was.
All right. So we have Bonilla with 1.2 million. We have Brett Saberhagen also making 250,000 a year for us.
Wait,
I had no idea about that one.
Brett Saberhagen?
Yep, paying him.
But didn't
as well.
he throw acid or water or something at one of the reporters or something?
I believe that was him.
And he's still making money.
He's making 250,000.
And listen,
Yeah,
no one has actually talked about this, but it's very important. And it might not be as important to people who don't really watch SNY. And this is SNY's contract and not the Mets contract, but Keith Hernandez is not signed.
I heard that.
Oh, that's big.
I heard.
Things went downhill once he got injured.
Yes,
That was the big injury.
It
For
was.
those
That
who
was a
don't
big injury.
know, he, Keith is the big announcer for SNY. and he fell, or he fell and broke his shoulder or
He
Yeah,
dropped
dislocated
his,
it.
from what I heard, his glasses, he almost was losing his glasses and he went to catch them. And the athletic ability that he still has, obviously, so he was able to grab it. But in lieu, in addition to that, he actually tripped and he fell and he hurt himself. And
But he made the
the truth of
play.
the
But he
matter is,
made the
it's
play.
really come out that he actually knew the Mets were going downhill, and it was a great embarrassment that the Philadelphia Phillies would still be in the playoffs after he ragged on them, and now they're going to be playing. I think that's the thing that hurts me the most is the Philadelphia Phillies with that team over there. They're still playing because they got to play the Cardinals. And let's not forget when the Mets made the World Series, the Braves got knocked out. That's how the Mets made the World Series. So, I will not be shocked. Don't be shocked. Imagine the Philadelphia Phillies just find a way
Well,
and they get
speaking
there.
of that, the Phillies won tonight, game 1 against the Braves. They're up 1-0.
They did.
They did. They won 7-6.
There you go. I wasn't even 7-6. I'm telling you, the Philadelphia Phillies have a great starting staff. They can win this whole thing. And it's all because Joe Girardi got fired.
Yes.
Totally overrated as a manager.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
All right, so let's get back into our segment. So now we have all the active players' salaries. We have the whole payroll, including Bobby Bonilla. And we're gonna go through all the free agents that we have and say, would we re-sign them? Do you still have those free agents contracts for this year? So we can give a little hypothetical of what
Right.
that would be from year to year.
Right. But I think they're just so not accurate. Like Brandon Nimmo, $7 million.
Yeah. So we could give an estimate of what we think. So let's start with the big one. Jacob deGrom. What was he making last year? 37 million.
He wants 33,500 and he wants 40. He wants Scherzer money. He probably wants more than Scherzer. He's going to want 45 times 3. He's going to want, what is that? $135,000 over the next 3 years. Maybe take a little bit less if you give him a 4-year deal.
So let's say we go with that 3-year deal, 45 million a year. Would you want that deal? Would you offer that deal?
My problem is I think DeGrom's a great pitcher. I still think he's got something. Okay. The question is, what's he going to have the next 2 years after that if he continues to do, a little worse? I think he's still a great pitcher. He pitched, listen, even in this series, he struggled a little bit the other days. Yes, he gave up more runs than a lot of, than Jacob deGrom normally does, but every pitcher has a bad game every once in a while. And deGrom only gave up 2 runs in 6 innings. A lot of you would take that every day of the week. Okay. So I still think he has that in him. The question isn't, is he going to be good? The question is more, is that worth $43 million or $45 million for the next 3 years?
Well, you Darnish is making $20 million. Blake Snell's making $12,500,000.
Younger guy.
Yeah, I take Blake Snell, 3 Blake Snells for $43 million. And I have a pitching staff. I do not need Jacob deGrom listen, as Ralph Kiner said, when he went in there, when he went all the home runs, and they said, what place did we come in? The Mets can come into the playoffs next year with 3 solid pitchers at $12 million a year, and they'll be just as good. They can lose just the same way. They can lose the same way for 3 pitchers they can replace. I am not signing Jacob deGrom. I do not believe he can get through a whole season.
I think I agree, and I wish that I didn't. I like deGrom. He's been my favorite player since he's been on the team. This is a question of, we have Steve Cohen here. This is a big move for him as an owner. First big move as an owner since the Lindor trade and getting Scherzer. Steve Cohen's favorite player growing up, Tom Seaver. What happened with him? We traded him away, still was great, and then we eventually
He
got him back.
He ended outside Citi Field. He's still there.
Exactly.
Yeah. But he wasn't as old.
What I'm
as
saying
DeGrom
is,
now.
does Steve Cohen say, we let Seaver go, we can't let deGrom go?
But I think Seaver, when he was let go by the McDonald family, that actually it was the Payson family after Joan Payson died. McDonald Grant let him go, whatever the heck that guy's name was. That was the big travesty. But I think Seaver was younger at that point. DeGrom is older at this point.
Tom Seaver, I think, was like young 20s, maybe even 19. He was really young when he joined the Mets. Jacob deGrom was like late 20s, 30. This guy is like, he's not even close
How
to
old is
what
DeGrom
Tom
now?
Seaver was.
I believe DeGrom is what, 35,
No way.
35.
He is
36,
not 35.
34.
He's 34.
DeGrom is 34 years old. He's still
Right. So
got some
you're
life
gonna
in
pay,
him.
I mean,
yeah,
still
but
might have
Tom
something.
Seaver was there. Tom Seaver took an organization that never won anything. They were the laughing stock of all of baseball. And he went in there and immediately said, I'm not accepting losing. He turned that whole team around. He made a name. He was the franchise. I mean, Jacob deGrom is never going to be the franchise. And Tom Seaver didn't get hurt. And he didn't need to take 5 or 6 days off. And he pitched all the year and never said, and his knee was scraping all the whole year. God knows what his poor knee looked like. I mean, he was on the ground all the time. This
And
isn't even,
DeGrom
they
still
shouldn't even
had
be in the same conversation, to be honest with you. They should not be in the same conversation.
Yeah, but we were just using Tom Seaver as an example of do you trade a franchise guy, and that's what I think Brian is bringing out,
Correct.
and
Correct.
and that's why I rebutted to the fact that Seaver was younger when we traded him. DeGrom is old. Let him go, and DeGrom is a little bit older than that at this point. So the question is, do you want a 35, 36, 37-year-old pitching in that three? I mean, I would like to say I would like him. But if I can't afford anybody else after that, and it's going to cost me from getting some other guys, would it be better to take $43 million and give it to Judge? That's your question.
Right. And also Tom Seaver was, as you said, was traded. Jacob deGrom, and there's two sides to a coin. It takes two to tango. Jacob deGrom's leaving on his own. He obviously, this is not like the Mets saying, hey, I have you under contract, I'm getting rid of you. But if the Mets were able to get, if the Mets were able to get Steve Henderson and Doug Flynn and Pat Zachary right now for Jacob deGrom, I obviously would take that, because then I know for a fact, maybe I'm going to be in last place for the next 5 or 6 years. I get more draft picks. Who knows? But I mean, these are the types of plays. They didn't just trade Tom Seaver, Brian, for for greatness. They traded him for 3 nobodies.
And don't forget, DeGrom, there's an upside to DeGrom where you're going to get one of those draft picky guys because he's a Class A free agent.
Careful about that. They're changing some rules.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to go with that. I believe that's still up for debate if they're going to keep those conditionals. I believe they weren't able to come to an agreement on the MLB international signing, so that those conditional picks are still going to be present for next offseason.
Yeah. Now here's a question. You're talking about who to sign now with the rules change. Since it was talking about rule change for a second.
Right.
If you can only throw to first base twice, should I get someone like Vince Coleman? Because if they throw twice, Vince Coleman can run around right to the plate. They can never try to get him again. He can keep running. I don't understand this rule.
Terrence Gore was great for us this year.
But in the series that the Mets just had, Terrence Gore got to go and get to first base, and then the guy hits on the first pitch, never gets the run. What the hell
that was neat. That was totally stupid.
Yeah, but
that was stupid. What is he thinking?
That being said, baseball is different next year as well. Not only can you not keep stepping out like the Padres did, they got to stay in the box because DeGrom's going to be able to keep his rhythm. That's a difference. And also, one of the things you have to look at is you don't have a mid-left fielder anymore to play the right side. He's got to play where he's supposed to play. Is that going to change the game? And is that going to change? Is that going to make Doug Jones, I'm just making up a name, a better player? Because now you're going to look at his statistics where he hits it. Ooh, this guy might have been better under the new rules. Maybe I'm going to take a chance on that guy. You know?
Right. So final thoughts on DeGrom. Sign him or not sign him?
No. Ivan says no. I'm half and half on that.
Okay.
Listen, if you tell me, we're not going to sign him, but we're not going to get anyone else. What you're not seeing is you're not going to sign him. You're assuming you're not getting anyone else. The Mets are going to get someone else. I can't tell you who that's going to be.
And I don't know who's out there.
Right.
The only other issue is if DeGrom goes, he's probably going to Atlanta.
You think the Atlanta Braves are going to pay him $40 million a year when they already are dominating?
He's the favorite on all betting websites to go there. The rumors were saying that him and Darno were seen talking to each other after the game, after the big Braves Mets series, and were pretty friendly after a big loss of a series for the Mets. So there are rumors out there saying that he
would go to the team that he knows that every Met fan hates the most. Oh, you forget he's never going to have a monument. He is never going to go down in Met glory if he's even talking or whispering, because that's the worst thing. You want to go to Texas, go to Texas. You want to go to the Marlins, go to the Marlins. You can go anywhere, but I even go to the Phillies. Go anywhere you want, but do not go to the Braves. That is a slap in the Mets face. The Met fans. That's just the worst. It's like Aaron Judge saying to the Yankees, I don't want to be a Yankee anymore, so I'm going to go where it's going to hurt you the most. Yeah, I like that. Come on, Aaron. We need Aaron Judge because then the Yankee fans will finally feel some pain.
All right. So
Dwight,
with
I
that-
mentioned this. I mentioned this. They stole Dwight Gooden. I know they didn't trade for him. David Cohn. I know they didn't trade for him. Darryl Strawberry. I know he was on the Dodgers. They didn't trade for him. But of all the players to take, I mean, you can take anyone. George Steinbrenner made a habit of saying, "I'm going to just hurt the Mets. I'm going to hurt the Met fans. Even if these guys aren't good anymore, I'm going to bring them on my team because they know that was like a knife right in our throat, right in our heart." And God, if we could just do that to the Yankees, I don't care if the Mets lost 100 games next year. That would be the ultimate week. Oh my God, would that be great?
yeah.
61 home runs. How much does he get on the open market? 61 million?
Oh, I think he's going to
62
break
home
records
runs.
this offseason. Ultimately, I think he does stay with the Yankees.
Yeah, I think he's
So
starting.
then why didn't he sign already?
I think because he was
You
doing
wanna
better
see
and
what the
better,
market is,
and
you wanna see
you
the
know,
market is.
yeah, when you're playing that well and you have the open market, you take as much as you could get. You never settle beforehand. Especially, I mean, when
They
he was
can
going to
replace
win
him.
the
They got, I
triple
know who
crown.
we can get next year.
Shohei Ohtani.
No,
We can
Shohei
discuss him.
Ohtani. Didn't he just get an extension by the Angels? The Angels extended him.
So
No, they didn't.
he did not, and he's been on the a little bit on the upset with the Angels because they've had so many great players. They haven't been able to do anything. The Angels are getting towards the way of selling because this isn't working.
He's young, right?
Shohei Ohtani is very young. He has a no trade clause that he has waived only one team from that no trade clause. That one team is the New York Mets.
Really?
Because Billy Epler was the one who believed in him. Billy Epler was the one who signed him when he was on the Angels and said, "You're our guy."
If
And
I can get him, then I
loves
don't
Billy
take
Epler.
DeGrom. That's you see, if that guy's available, I don't waste my money on him.
However,
Why
to
would
get
you
him,
go
would
anywhere,
need-
guys? Michael Conforto's back.
With Shohei Ohtani, the reason that he's a great fit is because you have, an amazing bat, and then you fix your pitching.
That's the part that scares me. If you lose him on an injury, you don't lose one player, you lose two.
Yeah, but you know what?
But if you don't pay DeGrom and you pay
DH
him,
How much does he want?
he's gonna want as much
I don't
as
care.
Aaron Judge wants.
I'm gonna give him DeGrom money, if not more.
Yeah, I think
You're going to give him 40 plus. What was his stats? I know we pitched. I know we hit. I know we did everything. But to me, that he can break down. I lose a starting pitcher. He's playing in the outfield. He dives for a ball. I lose a starter.
But if he's healthy, then you're paying $40 million for two players, two all-stars.
He's the second coming of Babe Ruth.
Was he that good?
Let me give you some perspective on him.
What's
This
the stat?
season, for batting, 273 average, 34 home runs, 95 RBIs.
From a pitcher.
Is
Mike Trout available?
He actually might be.
What do you mean he might be? Because I'm thinking of having Aaron Judge in left, Trout in right,
they're not set.
Ohtani in center.
But wait, hold on. Shohei Ohtani. You think that he's a great batter. Now this year he had a 2.33 ERA. I mean,
Yeah, and you know what? Let's go get him. $40 million. You're right. It's $20 million each position. He's a steal. Why would the Angels not just give him away then?
I don't think he's going to want to resign there if they're not winning.
Now, Mike Trout. I get Mike Trout. So I got Ohtani.
Wait. Is he a free agent this year?
I don't believe he is, but I believe the thought is that the Angels have been stinking for a while. They've had all the talent and they can't put it together. It might be time for them. Mike Trout's getting older. It might be time for them to start to sell and get prospects for the future. Now, do they do it?
They would trade Mike Trout.
I don't know if they would trade Trout. I don't know if they could, get the value that they want back. I don't know if they could get the value they want back for Ohtani. I don't know what we would have to give up to get
Ohtani wouldn't cost us anything. You just said you're still saying we have to trade Ohtani. We don't have a minor league system to trade. This is why this is all like the Mets can't go that way. The Mets are not going to be able to trade. They don't have anything to trade.
Yep.
So you're better off watching Ohtani play another season and get him for the 2024 season as a free agent.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's
And
something
so
to
if you
look
had
out for.
Otani and you sign Judge, it costs you, it doesn't cost you anything. And then you have Alonso and Lindor and Alvarez. I mean, you don't need to hit a hit anymore. You just wait for a home run. And you know what? I don't even need Nimmo. I was thinking about this. McNeil to me is a great number one hitter. The guy, Nimmo, for some reason, someone got into Nimmo's. And I told you, Jeff, this in the middle of the season. Someone got into his head and said, listen, if you're going to be a free agent, you got to start hitting home runs. In the middle of the season, he started never walking, looking to hit home runs. All right, he hit, 15, 16 home runs because it gets him more money. But he wasn't that player. Like, he had one great game in the San Diego series. He had 3 hits. That was the Nimmo from the beginning of the year. He was great in the beginning of the year, and he just really didn't. He tanked. He didn't do that well. He broke down. So, you know what? I don't need him. Let him go. I'm not a big fan of Nimmo. I don't think he, great character, great leader in terms of talk to the media all day long. You know what? The New York Mets everyone hated the Mets. They were fighting with each other, ripping the planes. In 1986, they won 108 games. No one liked them. I don't need to be the best guy, the lovable guy in the town. I need some bad guys in here. You know what? No one was screaming when they were losing. The Mets went down at the end of the season. No one was screaming. It was like banging anything. No one cared. Everyone was cool, calm. Everyone was Anna. Everyone was
I
a
agree.
can of a banana. I mean, no one was doing anything.
I noticed that even in the playoff series against the Padres, everyone was, smiling and friendly with the Padres. Everyone on the Padres was smiling. And the Padres were not being, this friendly team that's like, oh, we love the Mets too. I mean, Manny Machado was laughing in everyone's face.
Their pitcher that thumbed his nose or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Joe Musgrove is throwing his thumb into people's noses. He's, everyone's, talking bad from the Padres side, and the Mets are just smiling and waving as they're getting eliminated from the playoffs. So I agree. They need definitely a bigger force. I thought Scherzer was going to be that when it came to playoffs. Once he went into his shell, I don't think he had a place to talk or say anything was the issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about Guillermo? How did he he had one great month in the year and then he disappeared. He disappeared.
Yeah. Not the guy who works for
Guillermo.
Yeah.
Guillermo, yeah, that's right. What did I say?
Guillermo's the guy who works
Guillermo.
for Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, what does he do?
He works for Jimmy Kimmel. Guillermo.
Yes, he's yes.
Guillermo, that's right.
He does all the NBA final stuff, Guillermo.
Yeah, I mean, he was hitting hits. Mr. Pesky, everyone was they didn't want to. He come up. He never got in the RBIs.
He's a great fielder, but he's not an offensive
guy.
He never.
All right. So we're running low on time here. So let's just go through these last couple of players. We'll go through Nimmo, a complete thing. We'll go through Bassett and Diaz in these last couple minutes. Nimmo, let's say he wants. Let's go with. I don't know if this is going to be accurate with what he wants and who his agent is. Let's go with $20 million a year for 8 years. That's what he wants.
Yeah, so 20 million a year divided by 8 is getting about 2.5 million a year. Or do you mean 20 million each year?
No, 20 million annually.
I'm not giving him that.
Yeah, I'm not giving him that.
Because I don't think he's worth it.
I think that's what he's going to ask for.
He's only worth it if there's nobody else available. But I think there's going to be more availability.
Yeah, I don't think he's worth it.
I don't think.
I think he's going to be one of those guys that asks for a lot of money and winds up settling for less. I think he'll wind up staying with the Mets because they'll give him the best offer out of anyone. I don't think
they might, and everyone said he's such a great defensive player. He's not such a great defensive player. Believe me, look at the Braves center field.
Great defensive player. They just said he was better than he
right.
had.
He's not a great. He makes some great plays because he's slow. That's why.
Yeah.
Yep. So you guys both said no for Nimmo. I think I would say yes at maybe 2 or 3 million less per year.
Yes. Okay.
If we could get him down to that. If not, I let him walk as well.
Listen, if you can't get anyone else, of course you got to pay him the money. But I'm just saying, I got to see who else is available.
Yep. Next. Edwin Diaz.
I think he's a must.
I think no matter how much he wants, you give it to him.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I definitely would give. He'd be a priority.
If I can get a discount and have Timmy Trumpets hired to play the trumpet every week, I would take him.
I think you just don't let someone that electric who could automatically close a game out leave the door. No matter,
relievers can't be trusted.
A lot of money.
Yeah, relievers can't be trusted every year.
Correct.
You don't know how he's going to do next year, but all things considered, he's still one of the best in the league, if not the best.
Who's next?
All right, last we have Chris Bassett.
Well, again, I think that's a player option. Oh, it's a mutual option. So I think either one can go. I have to agree with Ivan. He wasn't that great down the stretch. I liked him very much at the beginning. I thought we should have given him an extension then.
It was good in September.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on
$8.5
who's out
million, number 5 starter. I sign Chris Bassett tomorrow. He wants to sign even for $10 million, but he's my number 5 starter. I go for it. I'll definitely take him. He's going to eat up innings. I'm not going to use him for the playoffs. I'm never going to think about using him for the playoffs, but he's going to take over Taiwan. He's going to do what Taiwan
Well,
Walker can't do.
Your issue is he's not going to cost 8.5 million next year. He's going to cost at least 15.
Well, I just said if I can get him for 10 million or maybe
Yeah.
even 12, I'll stretch. I'll take him for a number 5 starter. But if he's looking for $15 million and I got to plug a $15 million guy for a number 3 starter, I don't think he's worth it. And I just don't really, from the words, the body language I'm getting from him, I don't think he's interested in coming back.
Yeah. So with that, I think, anything else on Bassett before I close it out?
Nope.
All right, so
No, that's about it.
So we'll have a few more talks during the off season. I think if you guys are up for it,
Yeah.
talk about rumors, talk about who we want, and we'll have plenty of opportunities to do that, plenty of shows to listen to. But until then, the Mets season is over. Hopefully the Braves lose, and we'll see how the Phillies do, how far they go. And,
Any chance to get
last
Big
thoughts?
Sexy? Any big
Yeah.
chance to get Big Sexy back? I'm still up on Big Sexy.
Yeah,
That guy was
I
great.
think that's what the Mets were missing.
He pitched well in the old timers game. He did.
Yeah.
And I think we need to get Bobby Valentine as our third, first base coach. Kirby's,
There
he's
you
a little
Yeah.
heavy.
Yep. Yep. I think that's the solution.
All
All
right.
right. So that's
right.
That's
All right,
our
guys, it was
show
a
for this week.
pleasure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on, and hopefully we'll have you guys on soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
thanks.
Take care, buddy.